It's the mid-1960s, the dawning of the era of Black Pride, and two visions of the black struggle in America compete for ascendancy. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King stands for Gandhian nonviolence. Malcolm X sees Dr. King as too cautious and unwilling to retaliate against white violence.
We declare our right on this earth to be given the rights of a human being by any means necessary.
In February 1965, Malcolm is assassinated, and by August, Watts is burning.
6 days of rioting in a Negro section of Los Angeles left behind scenes reminiscent of war-torn cities.
All across the country, you had a rampant police brutality going on, abuse. You turn on your TV, you see the civil rights marches in the South. You see the dogs being sicked on the marchers, being showered and beaten.
The tide of nonviolence was changing in America. People had a more militant attitude, and it was led by young people. And we weren't going to take the same that our parents took.
The new black militancy is led by Stokely Carmichael and H. Rap Brown, who raise their fists in a rallying cry, Black Power.
Black Power sort of released this tremendous excitement and energy. It was sort of like a huge cultural earthquake.
In a 3 to 5 year period, we went from identifying ourselves as Negro to colored to black. I thought it was great. Black was beautiful.
And it's that moment in which the Black Panther Party came to the fore.
In Oakland, two student activists at Merritt College, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, are determined to create a revolutionary organization to address what they see as the problem of the racist power structure in America.
We had absolutely no name for this organization. And Huey says, well, why don't we just name it the Black Panther Party? I said, agreed, shake. I said, okay, bang.
They chose this image of the Panther as the coolest cat in the jungle. It looked really sleek and was really cool, but would only fight when it was backed into the corner.
After flipping the coin, Bobby becomes chairman and Huey Minister of Defense. They're an unusual pair, to be sure. Huey is a legendary street fighter with 6 months of law school under his belt.
In America, black people are treated very much as the Vietnamese people or any other colonized people because we're brutalized. The police occupy our community as a foreign troop occupies territory.
Huey was very smart in terms of political theories, and Bobby was an organizing genius.
Bobby is a jazz drummer, comedian, carpenter, and draftsman working in Oakland for a youth jobs program. He is a natural-born rapper.
When the party says power to the people, we ain't driving a pound. We say power to the people. Give more power to the people.
Our slogan was about all power to all the people, a progressive people's community empowerment. That's what it was about.
We would say black power to black people, red power to red people, brown power to brown people, yellow power to yellow people. People ain't never heard that before.
October 1966, Huey and I drew up a basic 10-point platform and program that outlined the basic political desires and needs of black people in America.
The 10-point program combines basic demands for full employment and decent housing with more radical objectives like the exemption of black men from military service.
The ultimate goal of the Black Panther Party was the total transformation of the United States.
Point number 7 is by far the most controversial. An immediate end to police brutality and the murder of black people. Huey and Bobby put the idea into action by following the police with guns and law books in hand to prevent incidents of harassment.
We were all armed with loaded weapons, as long as they were not concealed were not illegal under California law. And Huey, in all his need to be precise and to the point, no, such California State Supreme Court ruling states that every citizen has the right to stand and observe a police officer carrying out his duty as long as they stand a reasonable distance away. I'm standing approximately 20 feet from you and I observe you whether you like it or not. So he had researched the law. This is the killer of this whole kind of operation. We knew what we were doing.
For Huey to stand up against that onslaught with a gun in his hand says, you try to shoot me, I would try to shoot you, I would defend myself. That's like throwing a rock into a pond and watching the waves happen throughout America. No one had ever did that.
Members of the Oakland PD are outraged, but a folk legend is born and news of the Panthers' existence begins to spread.
I became the first female recruit. And I said, well, can I have a gun? Like the guys. And they laughed and said, well, okay.
The Panthers solidify their image with an intimidating, militant look.
The thing about the Panthers was their black jackets and their fros and their shades. That was like, whoa.
To me, uniform represents organization. If the people in the community see that you organize, then you're going to get a lot more respect.
Oh, we were cute, okay. Very recognizable.
The Black Panther Party very much became a part of the look of the 60s and pop culture of the 60s.
The Panthers protest rent evictions, they demand a traffic light at a dangerous intersection, and publish a newspaper addressing community issues.
Not done nobody wrong, but I'm treated so bad.
As the Black Panther Party grows in stature, a conservative lawmaker introduces a gun control bill designed to stop the party in its tracks. On May 2nd, 1967, Bobby Seale leads 30 Black Panthers to Sacramento to take on the state legislature, while Huey stays in Oakland to manage the press.
When we got there, Ronald Reagan was on the front line talking to future leaders of America or something. And so the young kids saw us coming up to walk with all these guns and rifles, and a whole horde of them came over to us. They thought we were a gun club. So naturally, some of the news cameras followed.
The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense calls upon the American people in general, and the black people in particular, to take careful note of the racist California legislature.
Next, they enter the assembly where the bill is being discussed.
The state assembly was in the midst of a heated debate when the young Negroes, armed with loaded rifles, shotguns, and pistols, pushed past startled guards into the House chamber.
I look around and several legislature have ducked under their damn desks. They look up and see these black people coming here with these damn guns and rifles and
Am I under arrest? Take your hands off me if I'm not under arrest.
The police, of course, were dazed and confused, as you might say.
But I'll tell you one thing, I was scared.
As soon as the Panthers leave the state capitol building, they're swarmed by police.
Cops came and methodically arrested every last one of us.
They violated the law by entering the chambers while the assembly was in session.
I went to court and I was sentenced to 6 months in jail.
They put trumped-up charges of conspiracy and felonies on everyone who went in to exercise a constitutional right.
The events of this day have a polarizing effect. For Black America, the Panthers represent a new, in-your-face form of protest.
That was what we call a colossal event. Bobby Seale read that mandate that went across this country like wildfire.
No one had ever taken guns into a capitol, and I was a junior in high school and seen that, and it kind of blew my mind.
For the white establishment, the Panthers represent pure chaos.
There is absolutely no reason why out on the street today a civilian should be carrying a loaded weapon.
In a short time, the Panther Bill, as the party calls it, is passed. It is now illegal to carry a loaded weapon in California. But the government isn't going to stop there. The FBI is now watching the Panthers' every move.
That was the wrong thing to do. You do not walk up the steps of any state capitol in the United States carrying rifles and shotguns and expect everybody to say, oh boy, isn't that nice? They were lucky they weren't shot right there.
It's 1967 and the hippies flock to San Francisco to celebrate the Summer of Love, while in Detroit and Newark, racial tensions with police erupt in violence, leaving the cities in ruins. It has been months since the Panthers stormed the state capitol. As a result, Chairman Bobby Seale is serving 6 months in jail, along with most of the membership. Huey Newton, Minister of Defense, is struggling to keep the party together.
Huey came to see me in jail. He said, the party's over. You know, we lost the office. I said, well, Huey, when I get out, I'll reorganize everything. Next thing I know, Huey is arrested and he's also wounded, shot in the side.
Early on the morning of October 28th, Huey is stopped by police. A quick and deadly gun battle erupts, but it's unclear who fires first.
The facts: 9 shots, 1 dead policeman, another wounded, a bloody Labuk on the street, and Newton shot. He was seriously wounded, taken to the hospital, where on the operating table he found himself surrounded by policemen who threatened him.
Newton recovers from his wounds but is charged with murder, thrown in jail, and is now facing the gas chamber.
I'll only tell the truth and express my innocence, which I am innocent.
With founders Huey and Bobby in jail, a new and provocative leader emerges, Eldridge Cleaver. His best-selling book of prison writing, Soul on Ice, has made him a media sensation.
Eldridge Cleaver became a pop icon. He was a best-selling author. He was an ex-convict who admitted that he was in prison for rape. He was crazy, but brilliant at the same time.
This is a combination that people weren't quite prepared for. But his attitude was, ready or not, here we come.
We are not in a mind to sit around to observe this and to build monuments to Huey or to sing songs about Huey. We will go down with Huey.
Eldridge and his wife Kathleen together stepped forward as the primary spokespeople for the party.
All power to the people!
If Eldridge was the minister of information, she was the mistress of information. She became like the spokeswoman of the Black Panther Party.
Everybody knows that all the people don't have liberties, all the people don't have freedom, and all the people don't have power, so that means none of us do.
Kathleen Cleaver was like the ideal symbol of black beauty in terms of what a revolutionary black woman was.
Dig it? Isn't it beautiful? All right.
Eldridge and Kathleen put together the whole defense committee on trying to save Huey's life.
We had a lot of rallies, and we did as much to collect money for his legal defense, as possible. When Huey Newton was arrested, he was charged with killing a policeman. You never heard of any black youth killing a white policeman. So this was like everybody noticed. And we were able to build on that and tell people who Huey Newton was and what the Black Panther Party stood for.
Free Huey!
April 4th, 1968, Martin Luther King is assassinated in Memphis. Riots explode in over 100 cities across America. Cleaver sees the moment of black revolution as having arrived.
We say, bring it on. If you want war, let there be war. This is what we're saying. Is that clear?
On the night of April 6th, he appears in Oakland with an armed caravan of Panthers, including 17-year-old Bobby Hutton, the party's first recruit.
In a shootout with police, Hutton had holed up in this basement with Eldridge Cleaver, the party's Minister of Information. Cleaver came out of the house stark naked, defenseless. Hutton ran, police said, and died.
Bobby Hutton came out with his hands in the air and was gunned down by this racist pig department of Oakland.
We found out that he was dead, and Eldridge was arrested. We went back down to the house where it happened. There were so many bullet holes in that house, and of course there was blood all over the street. And it was the most sickening sight I ever saw. I walked through. This is eerie. It's not a police action. Okay? It was war.
The Black Panther Party is now under siege. Community empathy swells during Hutton's funeral, which is attended by thousands, including Marlon Brando, signaling the growing support of Hollywood figures.
That could have been my son lying there. And I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to start right now.
Eldridge Cleaver is now in prison, charged with assault and attempted murder on police.
It was pretty devastating. That doesn't look like a person who's going to get out, but he did.
He was freed by a Superior Court judge who said Cleaver was held not as a criminal, but because of his political beliefs.
The judge's decision stuns law enforcement. Cleaver is released in June on $50,000 bail. The Peace and Freedom Party nominate him for President of the United States, and he emerges fired up to confront the entire California white establishment.
want to thank Mickey Mouse Ronald Reagan.
Here comes this man that had the nerve to call, the governor of California, Mickey Mouse Ronald Reagan.
And I have a special little word for Ronald Reagan in the morning. You, Ronnie, baby.
And then challenge Ronald Reagan to a duel.
I challenge the punk to a duel to the death, and he can choose his own weapons. To be a gun, a knife, a marshmallow. I'll beat him to death with a marshmallow.
And he occupies the kind of place in pop culture that someone like a Tupac, almost like a 50 Cent, Eldridge did that and then some because there was political purpose behind it.
Cleaver's fiery rhetoric brings the Panthers national attention. His derogatory term for the police becomes a potent anti-establishment slogan.
Huey called them racist dog police. Eldridge is the ones that are calling them pigs.
Specifically, it was coined about the police and then expanded to the greedy, avaricious pig businessmen and the fascist pig politicians. And that fired the imagination of people who just thought that we just had to take it.
It's common speak, this F the police comes long before NWA song.
What Eldridge did was put the Black Panther Party on the map. He was the person who had the sort of what you would call now the media strategy. He envisioned this as a national revolutionary movement, and it became a national revolutionary movement.
In July, Huey's trial opens in Oakland. Thousands of demonstrators gather outside to chant their support.
Black is beautiful.
To white America, we were a nightmare. Very frightening to see men and women talking about all power to the people, death to the pigs.
The revolution has come. Off the pigs. Time to pick up the gun. Off the pigs.
To see these black teenagers in black berets and black leather jackets out on the courthouse steps chanting Free Huey, this was quite spectacular for young black people, so they loved it.
Black America is emboldened by the Panthers. Tommy Smith and John Carlos raised their fists at the 1968 Olympics. James Brown sings Say It Loud, and the world is listening.
James Brown doesn't say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, unless you have a movement that kind of like comes before it. It ignited this quest for being at least a little bit intellectual, but also at the same time not take no. And that was a rough pill for America to swallow.